Picture this. You're in the middle of a code blue. Your patient's pH is 6.9. The vasopressors aren't working. The team is looking at you. And someone shouts, "Should we give Bicarb?" If you hesitated even for a second, this video could literally save your patient's life. Because what I'm about to show you about sodium bicarbonate will completely change how you approach critical care. Hey everyone, welcome back to another critical care lesson. I'm Neil Brian Galvin, this is NurseBrain. And if you're working in the ICU or planning to, you need to master sodium bicarbonate. Here's what's crazy. This medication has been around since 1791, but 99% of nurses still don't understand when to use it, when not to use it, and why it can either save your patient or make things dramatically worse. In this video, I'm going to reveal the 3 critical scenarios where bicarbonate is a lifesaver, the 2 dangerous mistakes that could harm your patient, and the secret monitoring technique that separates expert ICU nurses from everyone else. But first, let me blow your mind with something most people don't know. Sodium bicarbonate was first synthesized by a French chemist in 1791. But here's the kicker. We didn't start using it intravenously until 1950s. That means for over 150 years, we had this compound but didn't realize its life-saving potential in critical care. Today, it's on the World Health Organization's list of essential medications, but here's what they don't teach you in nursing school. I've seen nurses give Bicarb blindly during codes and actually make their patient worse. I've also seen nurses hesitate to give it when it could have prevented a cardiac arrest. The difference? Understanding the science behind when and why it works. Let's start with what sodium bicarbonate actually does in your patient's body, because this is where most people get it wrong. When your patient is in severe metabolic acidosis, we're talking pH less than 7.1, their body is literally drowning in acid. But here's the part that'll shock you. It's not just about the numbers on your ABG. When your patient's pH drops below 7.1, vasopressors become up to 50% less effective. Think about that for a second. You could be maxed out on 3 different pressors and they're barely working because of the acidic environment. Sodium bicarbonate works by increasing plasma bicarbonate levels and buffering those excess hydrogen ions. It's like having a molecular sponge that soaks up the acid and raises your patient's pH. But here's the critical part most nurses miss. The goal isn't to normalize the pH immediately. It's to get it high enough so your other interventions actually work. We're buying time for the underlying problem to be fixed. Now, let me walk you through the 5 scenarios where bicarb can be the difference between life and death. Pay close attention to number 3. This one catches even experienced nurses off guard. Scenario 1. Severe metabolic acidosis. When your patient's pH is less than 7.1 and they're on vasopressors, bicarb isn't just helpful, it's essential. I've seen patients who were unresponsive to maximum dose norepinephrine suddenly stabilize after 1 amp of bicarb. Scenario number 2. Hyperkalemia crisis. Potassium greater than 6 with EKG changes. Bicarb drives that extracellular potassium back into the cells. It's like having a molecular vacuum cleaner for dangerous potassium levels. Scenario number 3. Cardiac arrest controversy. Here's where it gets tricky. During a code, bicarb can actually create a paradoxical acidosis from CO2 production. But, and this is crucial, if your patient arrested because of severe acidosis or hyperkalemia, withholding bicarb could be fatal. The key? Don't give it blindly in the first few minutes. Wait for your first ABG or until you have a clear evidence of acidosis. Scenario 4. Diabetic ketoacidosis. This one's controversial. Some facilities use it, others don't. The evidence shows similar outcomes either way. But in severe cases with pH less than 7, it might be the bridge that keeps your patient stable. Scenario 5. Drug toxicities. Tricyclic antidepressant overdose, aspirin poisoning, Bicarb can be life-saving by alkalinizing the blood and helping eliminate those toxins. Now, here are the two mistakes that could turn bicarb from lifesaver into a patient killer. Mistake number one, the alkalosis trap. Give too much bicarb and you create alkalosis. This causes a left shift in the oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve. Translation, your patient's hemoglobin holds onto oxygen too tightly and won't release it to the tissues. I've seen this create lactic acidosis in patients who were getting better. You're literally suffocating them at the cellular level. Mistake 2. The calcium catastrophe. Never ever run bicarb in the same line as calcium. You'll create a precipitate that can cause emboli. I've seen nurses make this mistake during codes when they're running multiple drips. Always flush your line or use a different access point. Here's your safety checklist. Monitor pH, CO2, electrolytes every 2 to 4 hours. Watch for signs of fluid overload. Bicarb contains a lot of sodium, and never try to correct the pH completely in one dose. This is the technique that separates expert ICU nurses from everyone else. It's called the Bicarb Response Protocol, and I learned this from a critical care physician who's been doing this for 20 years. Step 1. Baseline assessment. Before giving any bicarb, you need current ABG basic metabolic panel and a clear understanding of why they're acidotic. Are they in shock, DKA, renal failure? The cost matters for your monitoring plan. Step 2. The dosing strategy. For IV push, start with 1 amp that's 50 mEq in 50 ml. For continuous infusion, would typically use 0.5 to 1 mEq per kilogram per hour. But here's the secret. Never try to correct more than half the deficit in the first 24 hours. Step 3. The monitoring matrix. ABG in 30 minutes after IV push, then every 2 to 4 hours. Basic metabolic panel every 4 to 6 hours. Watch your sodium, it's going to go up. Monitor for fluid overload, especially in heart failure patients. Step 4. The response evaluation. If the pH isn't improving after 2 to 3 doses, stop and reassess. You might be fighting a losing battle against ongoing acid production. Fix the underlying cause first. Let me walk you through a real case that shows how this all comes together. 72-year-old male, septic shock, pH of 6.95, lactate of 8.2, on maximum dose of norepinephrine and vasopressin, blood pressure barely 85 systolic. The resident wants to give bicarb. The attending is hesitant. What would you do? Here's how we handle it. First, we confirm the acidosis was metabolic, not respiratory. Second, we recognize that our pressors weren't working because of the severe acidosis. Third, we gave 1 amp of bicarb while simultaneously addressing the sepsis with antibiotics and source control. Result, within 30 minutes, his blood pressure improved to 110 systolic. The bicarb didn't cure his sepsis, but it bought us time for the antibiotics to work. That's the power of understanding when and how to use this medication. So, there you have it. Everything you need to know about sodium bicarbonate in critical care. Let me recap the key points. Use it for severe metabolic acidosis with pH less than 7.1, especially when on vasopressors. It's a game changer for hyperkalemia over 6. Be cautious during cardiac arrest. Wait for evidence of acidosis. Never run it with calcium, and always monitor for alkalosis. But here's the thing. Knowing this information is just the beginning. The real skill comes from applying it in high-pressure situations when your patient's life depends on making the right decision quickly. If this video helped you understand bicarb better, smash that like button and subscribe for more critical care content that could literally save lives. And here's my challenge to you. The next time you see a patient with severe acidosis, don't just follow orders blindly. Understand the why behind the treatment. That's what separates good nurses from great ones. Speaking of life-saving medications, you absolutely need to watch my video on vasopressors next. I reveal the 3 mistakes that could kill your patient and the monitoring technique that most nurses get completely wrong. Click here to watch it now. Thanks for watching. And remember, in critical care, knowledge isn't just power, it's the difference between life and death. Once again, this is NurseBrain, inspiring greatness one lesson at a time.